At Sierra, discover top workout gear at incredible prices, which might lead to another discovery. Your headphones haven't been connected this whole time. Awkward. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
I am your host, Stassi Schroeder. Welcome to Tell Me Lies, the official podcast. What's the most unhinged thing of season 3?
Steven, because he's so evil.
I do think he is misunderstood.
You see everyone face consequences.
It's intoxicating. The writers just know how to trick you.
There's always a twist in this show. It's nothing you would expect.
Tell Me Lies, the official podcast, January 6th, and stream the new season of Tell Me Lies, January 13th on Hulu and Hulu on Disney+.
This is Optimal Living Daily, Why a Gratitude Practice Will Make You Healthier by Karl Staib of digtofly.com. And I'm Justin Malik, your personal narrator, usually. Well, every day, but on Sundays I share an episode from another podcast in the Optimal Living Daily network. And today's comes from my brother's show, Optimal Health Daily. Fun fact, he does the same thing that I do here, reading an article every day of the week to help you optimize your life. But he also answers listener questions on Fridays. And if you send a relevant one in, you'll get a copy of our Optimal Living Daily workbook, digital if you're outside of the US, or a physical hard copy personally shipped to you by me if you're inside the US. You can send a health-related question to health@oldpodcast.com and then listen in to that show on Fridays. Again, that's Optimal Health Daily. But with that, let's get right to the bonus episode as we optimize your life.
Why a Gratitude Practice Will Make You Healthier by Karl Staib of digtofly.com. The tension was getting worse. The throbbing from my upper back was tightening. As I was driving home, I could feel my right arm going numb. I pulled over. I felt my heart beat. My chest was pounding. I didn't have time for this. I started the car back up and made it home. When I got home, I said hello and climbed into bed. My wife asked me if everything was okay. I told her everything was fine, so not to worry her. Everything was not fine. I wasn't sure if I was having a heart attack, a panic attack, or something else was happening to me. I woke up the next day feeling a little better. As I drove into work, I could feel the tension in my upper back take hold. Then by the afternoon, my right arm started going numb again. I called my doctor and tried to see if she could fit me in. She did have a later afternoon slot. I went in, and she asked me about my mood. I explained how work wasn't going so well. She asked about my home life, and I told her everything was fine. She told me she thought I had anxiety. She prescribed some medication that I never took. It was around this time that I started keeping my first gratitude journal. It helped, but it didn't stick. Unfortunately, I wasn't ready yet. This was the start of my gratitude journey that has led me to today. I now keep a daily gratitude journal that has shifted my mindset from a complainer to someone who enjoys most moments. I'm far from perfect, but I truly am a lucky man. I have more energy now than I did in my 20s. I'm 43, and I feel better than I ever have. Researching gratitude is one of my favorite pastimes, and I found a few interesting studies. Stress. My stress was at an all-time high when I worked for a bipolar CEO who changed their mind on a minute-to-minute basis. I wanted to quit 1,000 times, but I knew I couldn't do it to my family. What I didn't take into account was that I was doing a lot of harm to my body. My wife is convinced that much of the stress caused my cancer. This isn't proven, but some studies have found links between stress and cancer. A study cited on cancer.gov found, quote, evidence from experimental studies does suggest that psychological stress can affect a tumor's ability to grow and spread. For example, some studies have shown that when mice bearing tumors were kept confined or isolated from other mice, conditions that increase stress, their tumors were more likely to grow and spread or metastasize. In one set of experiments, tumors transplanted into the mammary fat pads of mice had much higher rates of spread to the lungs and lymph nodes if the mice were chronically stressed than if the mice were not stressed. Studies in mice and in human cancer cells grown in the laboratory have found that the stress hormone norepinephrine, part of the body's fight-or-flight response system, may promote angiogenesis and metastasis. End quote. I believe stress played a factor in my cancer. It's another part of what led me on my journey. in a sick way, I'm grateful that I've had cancer. I don't think I would be as happy as I am now if I had never experienced it. It's forced me to be hyper aware of how I react to a situation. If I feel the tension in my shoulders, I know I need to slow down and appreciate what I do have in my life. Robert A. Emmons, professor of psychology at UC Davis, found out that stress hormones like cortisol are 23% lower in grateful people, and having a daily gratitude practice could actually reduce the effects of aging to the brain. After I read this, I realized that my gratitude journal is helping me live longer. That's amazing. Just taking some time in the morning and at the end of each day, I feel happier and I'm extending my life. Positivity. I struggled with looking at the bright side of life. I remember my first date with my wife. The whole time, I repeated in my head, "Don't say anything stupid." It was a tough first date for me. After a few dates, I eventually relaxed enough to have a good time and start being myself. It's taken me 15 years since that first date to feel like I'm a positive person who believes that good things will happen to me. It's because of my focus on gratitude. When I'm focused on the good things I have in my life, then more good things happen to me. Chad Burton and Laura King figured out that if people kept a journal about positive experiences, it helped increase happiness. The participants also had fewer symptoms of illness. I found this research after I got hooked on keeping a gratitude journal. It's true. My ulcer is completely gone. I've been cancer-free for 9 years. I also sleep so much better, which also supports my ability to stay healthy. Communication. I remember when I was in my 20s and I would struggle with anxiety before I would go into work. My hands would sweat and sometimes I would have mini panic attacks. I remember one day in particular when I got to work early because traffic was light. I remembered I pulled over in a gas station and parked for 10 minutes so I didn't have to go into work early. I didn't want to go into the convenience store and spend money I didn't have, so I just leaned back in my car seat and played my favorite song at the time, Release by Pearl Jam. This anxiety subsided when I started documenting my experience at work in my journal. According to a Stanford report, you improve your public speaking skills when you write in your journal. When you write your thoughts down, it makes it easier to share those thoughts with others. You build your neural pathways when you practice in different ways. So, if you write, you are helping yourself process information in a different way than if you just think about what you're grateful for and don't take any physical action to document it. You are giving yourself alternative ways of looking at a situation. Start small. If you want to live a healthier life and build your emotional quotient, I suggest you start a gratitude practice. Take time to slow down and reflect on what went well. Your entry could look something like this. I did a very good job of staying calm during a big presentation. Or, I'm proud of how hard I worked with my team to deliver a great workshop. Or, I did a great job of taking a break when I felt overwhelmed. This is a great place to start because when you remember the things you did well at the end of the day, you're helping solidify the positive neural pathways in your brain so they are easier to access. You just listened to the post titled, Why a Gratitude Practice Will Make You Healthier by Karl Staib of digtofly.com. Dr. Neil here for my commentary. I so appreciated how vulnerable today's author Karl was in his post and his willingness to share his amazing story with us. It's true that if we express gratitude, especially in writing, we can actually retrain our brain to find more positive things in our everyday lives. Karl said it best in today's post. When we focus on the positive and make note of those occasions, we solidify positive neural pathways in the brain, making them easier to access. This means we will tend to remember the positive more often, and we retrain the brain to focus our attention on the positive events in our lives, and we sort of ignore the not so positive things. So instead of hyper-focusing on negative events, our brain starts to look for the positive events. A great resource on this topic is research conducted by Harvard professor Dr. Sean Achor, and definitely check out Dr. Achor's amazing TED Talk. I'll end this commentary right now so you can check it out. All right, that does it for today. Thank you so much for being here and listening all the way through to the end. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you back here on tomorrow's show where your optimal life awaits.